Go ahead.
Yeah, I would build even further on that, you know, the last 50 years here in the St. Louis region, we've really focused on the rivers. It's not just the rivers that we need to focus on. We need to go to the uplands. We need to go to the suburbs. We need to go to the tip tops. We need to make sure that we're controlling erosion and make sure that we're controlling runoff, because like Holly was saying earlier, and you were saying also, Heather, all of that comes down and ends up in the watershed and ultimately affects it. So it's really a holistic issue that everybody, no matter where you're at, no matter where you live, can take a part in improving.
What we want to do is make sure that people don't look at some of our waterways as ditches. They're not ditches, they're waterways, and I think in time, and I really am confident that over time, most Americans are going to realize that their water resources are precious, and they can take pride in these streams and rivers that run through their neighborhoods, through their communities, and won't allow the degradation of these water bodies, because our health, long-term health and prosperity depends on our water resources.
Well, and our economy too. I mean, if there really are, if let's say Phoenix, Las Vegas, other places that have trouble with their water supply, I don't know, 50 years from now, I mean, this could be something that we will be glad we have protected, I guess. Is another softball there? I mean, you can't own water in this country, correct? No one can, you don't.
In this area, our laws don't, right. Our laws don't, we have different water laws than out west, but it's not a softball when you put it that way because it matters. We assume we have plenty of water. We're water rich in the eastern United States. I worked down south for a little bit and got to experience the southeastern water wars in Atlanta, where you had a large city, not too dissimilar to St. Louis, that was in a water crisis.
Where they're fighting over state boundaries to try to get water.
That's absolutely right. And
But we also know right here in Missouri, there are regions that are experiencing water shortages. We've had drought over the last couple of years. We've had parts of north central Missouri where farmers are running out of water for irrigation. The Springfield area in southwest Missouri has had water shortage issues. And if we have prolonged drought, like other parts of the country have seen, we do face significant problems. And so, as Steve said, it's not something we can ignore. We can't just take for granted that we have all the water we need. We need to recognize that climate's changing, weather patterns are changing, and as we grow and develop, there are more and more competing uses for that water, whether it's energy development or increased irrigation for farming, because we have to feed an increasing population. And so we have to be vigilant about our water resources.
And there are things on an individual level that we can be doing, in addition to stream teams and pulling tires out of the river. Just the way that we treat our own lawns impacts our waters and the health of our waters. And even just think about this past winter, we put a lot of salt down on the roads, and that definitely, that ended up into our waters. And so looking at alternatives, whether it's a salt brine, or looking at how often you apply synthetic fertilizers to your lawn, every time you wash your car, all of those things are running off into our water. And so I think that's something that, as individuals, as homeowners, those are things that we can start making those types of changes now that are going to have lasting
Or as
impacts.
a city, I know, having lived in
Yes.
the Northwest, they don't use salt in Portland, for instance, and they also shut down for 3 days on 2 inches of snow, but they don't use salt. Period.
Yeah.
And that's a very practical application to teach me how to care about my water. You guys do a lot of that. Just don't use this on your lawn, don't wash your car and do this. And I can apply that without too much stress, if not feeling too stupid because I don't know the answers.
What is it? How do you water your lawn? You put a tuna can on your lawn, and you water only at sun up and sun down?
That's absolutely the way you do it. That's what they told us at the...
Yeah, I thought I was.
I think one of the most significant things is that we're all sitting here together talking about this, and I know it's the beginning of this, but from Great Rivers Greenway's point of view, we really see ourselves as a kind of a catalyst and a collaborating agent in the region, and we're a regional organization. And we're looking for opportunities. I just had lunch with Kat the other day. I'm meeting with Todd next week to try to figure out how we really start to create a momentum and a mass so we can really start to deal with some of these issues in a more collaborative way. And that's certainly something St. Louis always needs, right? We're not always known as a community that works together. And I see that kind of changing, and I think this is part of that. And it's a real opportunity to figure out how we start to maybe find a pilot stream restoration program that we can do together and do other things to leverage all the things we're doing together.
I think educating the next generation is really important also. And the more advocates we have for, water quality policies, or policies that really recognize the importance of our water resources, the more advocates, I think, the better off we're going to be. So there's more than just us sitting here at the table, but I think somebody said we need to grow the numbers, and we're about that also.
I just want to get one last thing verified before we go. Is it true that we have more, what would be the mileage of rivers than any other state? I mean, we don't. Two questions. No natural lakes in this state. Is that true? All man-made lakes? Or is that a,
There are no natural lakes to my knowledge. No.
and what about the river mileage factoid? Which
We have 110,000 miles of flowing water.
say that again.
Over 110,000
I
miles.
don't think we part of the problem is we haven't mapped.
Yeah,
all of our
and that's,
water.
yeah, so
Wow.
that would be on the low end estimate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how Minnesota prides itself on its 10,000 lakes, maybe we need to kind of reorient our identity to our flowing waters, as you put it.
Exactly, yeah.
We're the Great River State.
That's a newer slogan. Yeah, we've adopted, so we're the Great River State now.
We are?
Yeah, we are. Newsflash.
I missed that memo. I am not kidding.
150, over 150,000 miles, I think, if you look at it, so.
Wow.
Steve probably knows.
Or more.
Or more, right, there's always more.
Because
There's always more.
because it all hasn't been mapped. That's how much there is.
Right. We haven't even done a good inventory. And not only are we talking about rivers and streams, but wetlands. We haven't even really touched on wetlands. And wetlands, the biodiversity of wetlands is comparable to coral reefs, rainforests, and we haven't even started to touch on those. And those aren't protected right now under our clean water, our water quality standards. So, how many hundreds of acres? And we've already lost 4 million acres of wetlands since Europeans first settled here. So that's a whole nother resource for another show.
And
is
and
indeed.
St. Louis is sort of ground zero for this water world, because the two great rivers, that makes us a very unique location geographically, the two great rivers that have the confluence of the Missouri and the Mississippi River, just north of the city, and then all of the streams that we've been talking about that flow into the great rivers. And those are worth protection, and I've always said that, you keep thy river will keep thee.